start, you can pause it. No?
I started now.
Should I turn it on?
Yeah, you should turn it on. Okay.
Can I hear myself as well? Hello? It looks like my mic doesn't work. Hello?
Can
I hear myself as well?
Ah, okay, well, this is a bit of a
lag. Okay. And 1, 2, 3. Hello guys, welcome to our channel Demigods, a one magic world. Today we're going to do something special with you guys. We want to go live and go over the cards of the Tarkir Dragonstorm set that will be available on Arena on April the 8th. So, and then we will be playing more of Tarkir. Actually, only 50% of the set has been revealed, so we want to go over those to be more familiar with those before the set is released completely, and we wanted to make it interactive while we're going over them, so we're going to need your feedbacks on the cards, so we'll discuss them all together. So what we're going to do, like we're going to go over, this is the Magic Wizards website that the cards are available over there, and we're going to go over by color, starting with white and then jump on to blue and so on and so forth. And there are also multicolor ones, and we will make some predictions of if the card will be hugely played or not going to be played at all, or if there's any card that will go amazing with that existing cards. So that's the idea of our live today, so that's why we like to call it a forum, so we can have your ideas involved as well. So over to you.
Well, hello guys, welcome back to the channel Demigods. And then as we said, we wanted to have a review like for the meta right now with Dragonstorm, and if it's going to change something or not. So we kind of expect some kind of comments from your part. Don't hesitate to tell us what you think about the cards we're going to try to review, if it's in constructed, standard constructed, or in limited as well, because we also play, as you know, a lot of limited. Well, we're not going to review the other part or the other impacts in other formats like Commander or Pioneer, for example, like Explorer and so on, as it's not really the aim of the video today, of the live today. But don't hesitate to interact, because like this is the whole idea in here. And at the same time, as you know, the channel is in 3 languages. If you need it, we can also like translate the cards right away in French or in Turkish if needed.
Okay, so let's go. And this is, I think, the alphabetical order, if I'm not mistaken.
Alphabetical order. And without the treats, like the different treats and the default and so on. So we just took like the rough piece, let's say like no different art and so on, because it's going to be too long.
Yeah, it's going to be complicated.
Everything, yeah.
So it's not about cosmetics, it's about the cards, and we start with the first one. The first one is Unoffensa, Unyielding Lineage. This is a legendary creature. It's a spirit soldier. It has flash and first strike. Whenever another non-token creature we control dies, then it endures 2. Enduring is a new mechanic. It's putting +2/+2/+2 +1/+1 counters on it, or creating a white spirit creature token. There is also a website dedicated to the mechanics of the new set that is coming up. And Endure, as you can see here, it's more of a Abzan tribe mechanism it will be. And as we said, it's enduring 3 or enduring 2, which means you have to choose between putting either a +1/+1 counter on them or creating a token creature. Here is the same.
So basically, what you have to remember in Dragonstorm, like, well, let's say it's way first. Like, if you need like a update on the mechanics, just tell us. We can also like make a video about it, like try to explain the mechanics of the set. Right now, you have to remember that Tarkir is also all about the clans. So there will be 5 clans, and one of them will be, for example, like Abzan, Jeskai, and so on. And each of the clan have a special mechanic for them. So basically, in here we have this one in here that has this mechanic, this Endure 2. I think that this card is pretty bomb because of the first strike. First strike makes it very complicated actually to block, and very complicated also like in attack. And the flash is extremely good. It's 3 mana for a 2/2 that we know it's pretty high cost, of course, but the first strikes makes it a very good at combat. So basically, I think that this card Anafenza is definitely a very good pick.
Well, what I do like about it is like the endure mechanic. It is Abzan, as we said it. So Abzan also means like you can also use it as a Selenia, and we have a lot of like Selenia mount structure that you put a lot of +1/+1 counters on it. So the more the Anafenza grow, the bigger of a threat it will be for the opponent, and you can also use it for defense as well. Well, when it enters, it's only 2/2, but like it could grow and become like a very big threat for the opponent. So I think it is a good card. So basically, if we should rate out of 10, maybe like 8.
To me, it's a very strong 8, to be honest, really. Plus also the token, like we have seen that Elspeth is also like going into the token. You have to remember as well that mono white has been like totally devastated these days. Like we have seen a lot of mono whites before, and now the meta game is already like it's almost like only domain and mono red or whatever version it is. And there, this could be extremely good for mono white tokens because it generates tokens as well.
Sure. Okay, let's hop on to the next card. Is the Bearer of Glory. During your turn, this creature has first strike, but it's a 2/1 for 2 mana. And then for 5 mana, all the creatures we control gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. I think it's a very not very interesting common, but it's some card that we are very familiar with. It will be okay in limited more than the constructed. I don't really think people will play this card, but it will be good for your limited version.
Yeah, limited is very good. For constructed, I really doubt it. Like plus this ping 1 point for toughness is pretty bad. So basically a good limited card. Definitely the first strike. We have seen that already in aetherdrift, that this creatures, even if it has toughness 1, with the first strike during the turn, it's pretty strong still. But yeah, unlimited. That's it. Coordinating maneuver, like so we have here an instant 2 mana, choose 1. Coordinating maneuver deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to target creature or planeswalker or destroy target enchantment. I like the flexibility of the maneuver this time. We haven't seen that many enchantments right now in Dragonstorm. Might come as well. We have seen a few, but the whole set doesn't look like it's going to be focused only on enchantments compared to, for example, aetherdrift that had a lot of vehicles and artifacts.
Or Duskmourn.
Yeah, or Duskmourn, for example. But yeah, we kind of like the flexibility of the card. What I don't really like for this card, especially, it's more like a limited card as well. It deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control. So most of the time, like you need to have a huge board to get rid of a creature that is consequently like high, like huge. Basically, most of the time you want to get rid of the green ones. And if you have like a green opponent playing green creatures, this card is almost dead most of the time. That's why there was a kind of similar card in aetherdrift, and we tried it sometime. But if you don't have like a huge board, most of the time it's not extremely good.
I think it's a dead card in my opinion as well. Even maybe in limited, there won't be too much people playing it. And let's go on to the next one. It's Dalkovon Pack Beasts. It's a creature Ox. It has Vigilance 04, so it's a bit of a blocker. And it has the Mobilize strategy, Mobilize mechanics. Whenever this creature attacks, create 3 tap and attacking 1/1 red warrior creature token and sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. So going back to the mechanics, the Mobilize, it's going to be more for Mardu mechanic. So Mardu, we will see the Mobilize more often, and you are creating like small creatures, and it's tap and attacking, but you have to sacrifice them at the end of your next end step. So that would work with like some of the sacrifice strategies that we have, because you can sacrifice them to draw a card, or maybe like with braids you can even deal damage, or also Vraska like could deal damage to the opponent while we're sacrificing the creatures. So it could be an interesting one. It's an uncommon, so I give it 5 or 6 maybe.
Yeah, 3 mana for 0/4 vigilance is not too bad. Mobilize 3 is not too bad as well. Yeah, we have seen like a lot of these new kind of cards like this sacrifice, especially Zahur. Like, wait a little bit, there will be a standard event with Zahur. We're working on the deck on BO1. It's not very easy actually. We have the BO3 version. The BO3 version is way more like it's easier to play than the compared to the BO1. But yeah, I would try to put back this Orders of Sacrifice, and I want to focus a little bit on the Mobilize mechanic, because like it allows a lot of new tricks for sacrifice decks. Because the problem is that when you sacrifice things, you want to get like either like a second option, like having something very strong coming onto the battlefield without having too many losses. And the problem right now with the meta is that there is nothing that is creating enough value and sacrifice it without losing too much. We have this serpent, for example, like the Viper, that we are trying to make it work in BO1, for example. But when you try to sacrifice things, you lose way too much, and then the Viper is dying right away to any kind of go for the throat and so on. So, well, it triggers once, but you have sacrificed the whole board, doing pretty much just nothing, like losing 4 life or discarding a card or sacrificing a permanent, which is pretty sad because, well, you lose your entire board. With this kind of cards, maybe it's going to kind of revive a little bit the thing, because like you're going to be able probably to sacrifice the tokens that have been attacking, and you will not lose as much. What I like about the sacrifice as well is you can also get the max speed, and the max speed is also like giving like kind of a new vibe, new wave for the Vipers, for example.
Although like we don't really see many at the drift cards like penetrating into the standard these days, but maybe with the new mechanics that it might be the time that the other drift also finds its place in standard. Okay, let's going on to the next card is the Descendant of the Storm. So it's a human soldier. Whenever this creature attacks, you may play 2, 1 white, 1, and if you do, it endures 1, and enduring again is like putting a +1/+1 counter or creating a spirit token. That is like, it's good for 1 mana, but I'm not super duper.
Yeah, I was thinking about this card, and I've seen some things like this boasting ability that we had also. It looks like this thing when it attacks, then you could boast the card, and it's kind of similar. Well, it's not bad. It's again like kind of a good, probably limited card, maybe not a very good one in the format for constructed. Though this human is a soldier. So like we have kind of a reviving of some soldiers still, so that could also like find a shelter at some point.
Okay.
The next one is Dragonback Lancer. So Dragonback Lancer has flying 4 mana for a 3/3 human soldier as well. So we have a lot of soldiers in white, and has mobilize 1. I think it's an okay card, nothing extraordinary. Giving the mobilize 1, it's okay, but 4 mana in right now standard constructed is pretty much this card doesn't do much anyway. So I think it's kind of a limited card, but not really much of a standard constructed. But I think the next one is something that is really relevant in standard. Is the duty beyond death. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you can sacrifice a creature, and then creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So basically, for just like sacrificing any creature, maybe like a small token that you mobilize with, you can actually protect your entire board against Deadly Cover-Up, for example, Day of Judgment, all of these like sweepers that we have right now in Standard. Of course, Sunfall is still devastating for like your little creatures that you want to keep alive. So this card doesn't work with it, but I mean, Sunfall is going to leave the meta in the next rotation in August. So I think it's a very good card, to be honest.
And I think it works amazing with the mobilize. So you still create like a token that you can sack to give everything else indestructibility, and you also give +1/+1. So I think it's very good for the deck who will like to go broad. So I assume this will be played a lot in not only in limited but also in constructed. So
yeah, it's
I give
a good trick. And you also put a +1/+1 counter on each creature.
Yeah, I will give it like a easy 7 for this one. And then the next card is Elspeth, the Storm Slayer. It's a legendary planeswalker. If one or more token will be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens. So it's kind of like a similar strategy of what was it? Mardu? What was the card? Well, 4 mana card. Well, okay, it's fine. Create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. 4/0. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain flying until the end of your next turn, and destroy target creature an opponent controls with mana value 3 or greater. So this is much better than the Elspeth that we have, in my opinion. And basically giving everything flying is not going to be liked by your opponent. So this Elspeth is very strong coming to the meta.
She's going to be very strong, so it's going to be one of the Planeswalker coming to Dragonstorm. And Elspeth, the Storm Slayer is 5 mana though, compared to the Elspeth that we have right now in the current meta. Her ability is stronger than the real abilities as loyalties. Like being able to create more tokens is pretty crazy because it's any kind of tokens actually.
Well, I meant the Mondrak, from the Phyrexian, from the Phyrexian invasion. So it was 4 mana creature, and it was doubling all of the tokens that will be created. And we also had Kaya and Orzhov Kaya that was also doubling all of the tokens. So that's good.
So that's what I was mentioning. Like mono white tokens has disappeared a little bit from the standard, and now we might have it back because of like Elspeth, because of these cards creating tokens, which would be good because like we kind of see only domains right now and mono red, a little bit of mono black as well, but just not very various.
True. Okay, going on to the next one is the Dog Soldier. It's called Fortress King Guard. When this creature enters, it endures. So either putting a +1/+1 or creating a spirit token. And it's 1/2 for 2 mana. It's a common card and nothing really special about them, in my opinion. But yeah, in terms of like the soldier strategy, if there is better cards creating soldiers or pumping the soldiers, that could be interesting only then. So let's go on to the next one. It's called Mardu Devotee. It's a human scout, 1/2 for 1 mana. When this creature enters, you scry 2. So you basically see your top 2 card of your library, and then you decide if you want them or not. And by paying 1, you get either one of these Mardu colors that you need, and you can only do it once each turn. So it's an acceleration of mana.
Yeah.
For 1 mana, 1/2, I think it's a very good card.
Yeah, it's a very good card. It's also like very much a limited card. Like the whole idea, like I don't know if you've seen that, but the lands have come back, like the triumphs, like kind of the triumphs, let's say, because unlimited format. They wanted us to be able to play the clans, otherwise it doesn't make any sense anyway. So you have these devotees, and I think there is a devotee for each clan, and then this one is the Mardu one. So it's way easier than to play the 3 colors, because well, maybe we're really bad at drafting or whatever, but sometimes like playing 3 colors, even splashing a color, is kind of punishing you sometimes, because even with the double lens it's not enough. You kind of need something that makes a treasure token, or you need like those triumphs to be able to fix the mana sometimes. And yeah, this is a very good option for these devotees, for each clan to get the colors that you need. Plus the stats are not too bad. 1 mana for 1/2 can block pretty well. Small 1/1 or tokens, like there will be a lot of mobilize, so this one can hold also like these little tokens 1/1s when they're attacking. And then we already talked about it in one of our Magic Weekly, Magic Hebdo in French, Rally the Monastery, because it has been revealed a few weeks ago. 4 mana and costs 2 less to cast if you've cast another spell this turn. So it's a very Jeskai kind of move, and you can actually at instant speed create 2/1/1 white monk creature tokens with prowess, and or up to 2 target creatures you control each get +2/+2 until end of turn, and destroy a creature with power 4 or greater. This card is extremely flexible, and we love this card. I love this card because like it can be extremely good at offense, but it can be extremely good at defense as well. Like this flexibility makes it a very good card. Of course, 4 mana can be a little bit expensive to play, but if you have played something like very small, could be like a shock, for example, or like just an opt, then the huge cost of 4 becomes 2 suddenly. So it allows you to be able like to block certain creatures, or to even like ping the last points of damage that you wanted.
Yeah, I think it's a very easy 7 or even 8. This Rally the Monastery is going to be played everywhere, even in the constructed format. I can see that one being played because of this flexibility, as you mentioned. So we go on to the next one. It's the Riling Dawnbreaker. So we have the dragon. So finally we have 1 dragon here, because this set is all about dragons. And then the new mechanic is called the Omen. And let's go back to our mechanic sheets over here. And as you see, like the Omen is a new mechanic, but this is different than Exile, because when you use this card for Omen cost, then this card goes back into your library rather than being exiled like the other cards with what was it called? Not the flashback, but
The adventure.
Adventure, yeah. So then in this case, it's a sorcery, so you create 2/2 soldier creature token, and this card goes back into your library, and you can redraw it to play it as a dragon. But as a dragon, it's flying vigilance 3/4 at the beginning of your combat on your turn. Target creature controls you control gets +1/+0 until the end of turn. For 5 mana, I think it's very expensive, but it's a common card anyway, so I think I'm gonna give it another 5 to this card.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Like the Omen is not too bad. Like as you explained, the new mechanics. So well, you have to not mistake it with the Wilds of Eldrin adventure for sure. First, especially if you play it on draft. And yeah, it's a very expensive dragon, to be honest. But yeah, I kind of like the fact that actually you can do something with it like in early plays, and then you can also like redraw it and make it like a big creature after that. Overall, these Omens don't look like, except some cards, like specific cards, these Omen sorceries like are not looking very, very good, to be honest. I think that adventures were really better than this, because you keep the card, and here you don't keep it. And then we go to the next one, is the Salt Road Pack Beast. So this one costs 1 less for cast for each creature you control, which is pretty good actually in limited, because if you want to go like a little bit wider, then you can also like draw a card when these creatures enter. So the stats are not too bad. It's a 4/3, but it replaces itself. So I think that is not a bad card in limited, but of course constructed, you can forget about it.
Yeah, like it's similar to Affinity of the aetherdrift set, so it could be like a lot cheaper So we can maybe play only for 1 mana, and then you still get to draw a card and put a 4/3 body on the battlefield. It's not too bad. It's a pass card. And we go on to the next one. It's the Smile at Death. It's an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, return up to 2 target creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, and put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures. So, I mean, like, it would work with some sort of a aristocrat decks where the creatures are very small with 1 mana or 2. But on the other hand, like 5 mana is too expensive for these aristocrat kind of decks. Although this is a mythic rare cards, I'm not so sure whether I liked it, to be honest. So I think I'm gonna give this card a 5 as well.
I really love the art. This is Alesha, and we love Alesha, like resurrecting your things and so on. This has been a preview from Dragonstorm before, but to be honest, like, you have to wait for your upkeep to be able to return the 2 target creatures with power 2 or less from your graveyard. And we have to remember that there is another card way more powerful that doesn't give just 2, but it's Raise the Past. And Raise the Past is, if it's still in the format for 4 mana, Raise the Past will be way better than Smile at Death. Even though this enchantment is going to stay on the battlefield, that you're going to put a +1/+1 counter on each of your creatures and so on. But Raise the Past has shown how strong it was, because it's going to return all of your creatures. So this is way different. So I think that this enchantment is okay. It's going to be pretty strong in limited. It's not going to be... I don't see it played in constructed, to be honest. Well, tell me if I'm wrong, but really, as long as there is Raise the Past will take over. Then we have like the Stormplane Entertainment. 3 mana is exiling effect for an enchantment. When it enters, you exile target non-permanent and opponent controls until this enchantment leaves the battlefield. Why this card? We talked about it like last week in Magic Weekly, if you haven't watched it. So basically, it's another Banishing Light. We have seen 6 million Banishing Light already. This is an extra one, and it doesn't have any real effect by itself, or having a little effect from the mechanics in the set. We could have, for example, like thought about like reducing the cost by 1 if you Behold the Dragon, for example, like Behold being a new mechanic from Dragonstorm. But in here, you just have the same enchantment, and it does pretty much nothing. So, well, it's not bad. It's not extremely good. It's the same thing that we had, but without any more taste that we could have actually from the Dragonstorm.
Okay, the next card is the Tempest Hawk. It's a creature bird that it flies for 3 mana 2/2. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may search for your library, name this card, the Tempest Hawk, reveal it, put it to your hand, and then you can have as many number of this card in your deck. Well, I mean, Heir Apparent was only 2 mana, and you could have as much as you want, and it had like special feature as well. So because it will generate token X-1, which means like if you have 10 Heir Apparent, then you will create 9 tokens. I don't really see that happening, and it's 3 mana for 2/2 bird, and well, you have to deal damage to get another bird that is also 3 mana. I don't see it being played at all. I think it's a very bad card.
Yeah, I think it's a very bad card.
In my opinion.
Yeah, there is the flying, which is okay, but I think that's, for example, like Slime Against Humanity is way better, like giving the trample with big creatures, like green creatures, like going through. But this one, I don't really see anything really good. Here we have a United Battlefront. United Battlefront, 4 mana for... look at the top 7 cards of your library, and as a sorcery speed, put up to 2 non-creature, non-land permanent cards with mana value 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield, and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So United Battlefront is definitely the collected company that everybody knows for sure. So basically it's the same ways, but this time you don't get creatures, but you're going to get anything that is not a creature. Actually, there's a lot of triggers. Like right now we can have like planeswalkers for mana 3 or less. Like you can get a Liliana, for example. You can get a Vren. You can get a Sensitizer as well with this. You can look at up to 7 cards. So yeah, it's it's a very, very strong card actually. But it has to be permanent. But the this card, I think it's definitely a good 8 actually.
And we hop on to the Voice of Victory. It's a human bard. It has mobilize 2, so it creates 2 attacking and tapped 1/1 red warrior creature tokens, which you sacrifice at the end of the next end step, and your opponent cannot cast any spell during your turn. So it's similar to Grand Abolisher in the time where like your opponent and all of the counter spells like goes out of the window. So in that sense, I see this card being played because we know the Grand Abolisher is being played, especially for the omniscience type of decks, because they don't want you to counter their strategy. So it's a good one actually, and I like 1/3 for 2 mana. It's a very good card in my opinion. It's an easy 7, I would say.
Yeah, and it's the stats are better than the Grand Abolisher. Like 1/3 holds the block, like holds in block better. It's less punishing than the Grand Abolisher because the Grand Abolisher is 2 white, and this one is one in color mana as well. So it looks like this one is a little bit better than the Grand Abolisher in overall, because it has also like an extra mechanic as well on top of that.
And then we have the last card in white is the Static Snare for 5 mana.
I have to stop you. I think this one doesn't look standard legal. I don't know, because like this is a secret lair sign symbol. So well, it looks like it shouldn't be standard legal. It says there
maybe they will add it onto the. I don't know.
Well, at least this is not the symbol of the extension. It's a secret lair one.
Yeah, but let's go over quickly, briefly. So it's 5 mana, and it's 1 less to cast if it's an attacking creature, and it has a flash enchantment where you can exile the target artifact or creature an opponent controls. But I was gonna say that it's very expensive anyway for what it does. So I think this is not a very.
But this spell costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature. So.
Oh, for each. Oh, for for 1. Okay.
It's kind of the frenzy of the white.
Okay.
Not too bad, actually.
Then it's not too bad. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've seen the Static Snare. It's a reprint from somewhere else, but I don't really remember. Let me have a look at it.
Okay. Then in the meantime, let's go on to the blue. We have 14 cards in blue. So let's start and get going. So we have Aegis Sculptor as a bird wizard, flying with Ward 2, and at the beginning of your upkeep you may exile 2 cards from your graveyard, and if you do, you put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So this is not too bad because like you can grow it, and also like with a lot of graveyard strategies being played in the meta right now, so that could be good to get rid of some of them. And it has Ward for 2/3. I mean, I think it's a bit expensive, but it's still a solid card. I see this one being played.
Just for the update, yeah. So Static Snare is a card that will be also in the standard format as well. Yeah, that's it. I couldn't find any other information. I thought it was a reprint, but it looks like it's not a reprint. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, then after this culture, we have here the Agent of Kotis. That has this new mechanic, 2 mana for a 2/1 human rogue, and has Renew. That is 4 mana, you exile this card from your graveyard, and you have then an effect. And here you put 2+1/+1 counter on target creature, and you have to activate it only as a sorcery. So Renew is kind of a new mechanic as well from Tarkir, which is probably, if I'm not wrong, the one from Sultai, the Renew, because they have this kind of visibility, yeah, this is Sultai, of regrowing from the graveyard, and they die. Is it a very good card? I don't think so, to be honest. Like either in limited or in constructed, 2 mana for a 2/1 stats are very bad already. Plus, you also need 4 mana to exile this card, putting 2+1/+1 counter on a creature that might be killed if you try to put the +1/+1 counters on it. I think in both formats, it's bad, this card.
Okay, we go on to the next one is the Durger Island Dragon. So this is another dragon for 6 mana. It has flying and ward 2, and well, this is 4/4, bit expensive, but it has an instant omen capability as well. Then what you do is tap up the 1 target creature, and you also draw a card for 2 mana. So I see this being more played from the instant perspective than the dragon himself, because 6/6 with 4/4 flying is not extremely great in my opinion.
What is good is the tempo on it. So probably limited is going to be really playable, way more playable, because you can like avoid an attack and it replaces itself. So the tempo might be pretty interesting in here. One first artifact, we haven't seen that many artifacts compared to aetherdrift. 3 mana for this artifact assassin card. When it enters, at the beginning of your upkeep, you summon 1, and then if you tap it, you can create a 2/2 black zombie druid creature token. You activate only during your turn, and only if a card left your graveyard this turn. So I don't know how you can make it really trigger in this card, but yeah, well, an army of zombies, like zombies are kind of back in Dragonstorm. I don't really see how you can make it kind of a trigger.
Well, you're gonna have to use the renew mechanic for sure, or like you will have a card that exiles a card from the graveyard. In this case, maybe like something like
The roots.
Anything that goes with Ketramose, actually. Like,
Yeah.
Ghost Vacuum could be one of the things. So you're gonna need like Ghost Vacuum or anything like Renew in order to exile it, and then after that you can tap it to create a zombie. That's an okay card.
But yeah, complicated.
Okay, so we go to Marang River Regent. It's another dragon for 6 mana, 2 blue 4, and flying. This creature enters, return up to 2 other target non-land permanents to their owner's hand. So it's a very good tempo, and you also you also put an incredibly big body onto the battlefield that flies. And in the Omen version with 4 mana, you draw 3 cards and you discard 1. So overall, it's a very good card, and it's rare. But we don't really know like how fast this Tarkir is going to be. So
well, if it's as fast as aetherdrift.
Well, if it's as fast as aetherdrift, which is super slow, then 6 mana is very doable. But then if the set itself is going to be very aggro, then 6 mana card might be not as good as we think it is.
Well, we haven't passed the worst colors, like the most aggressive colors so far, but for now it looks very mid, to be honest. But yeah, the drift hasn't been the race of the multiverse, but this is the slowest race I've ever seen in my life, to be honest. Yeah, what I like about this region is that you can also like return up to 2 other target non-land permanents to their owner's hands, which is pretty strong for 6 mana, having 6/7 flying. And limited, this one is a bomb in my opinion. Plus you can draw also like at instant speed. You don't have to draw at sorcery speed like the Omen part. Okay, and then we can go on to the Ring Strike Mastery. 1 mana blue enters, and this aura enters, tap enchanted creature, and then it doesn't untap during its controller's untap step, and enchanted creature has 5 mana, untap this creature. It's a removal. It's a static removal for sure. Is it very good? I'm not that sure, because the problem with some of the cards is that they keep their abilities while being tapped, so they're going to stay on the battlefield, but they don't lose their abilities. So if there is something that triggers something, like triggered ability, then this card is just okay. 1 mana is cheap though, especially to get rid of the big green creatures, for example. But that's the main problem with this kind of card. Like you can just like tap it like momentarily, or they don't lose their abilities as well.
Well, I think like something like Unable to Scream is much better than this card, in my opinion. So
even Flood the Engine in Aetherdrift is better. Even if it's 3 mana, Flood the Engine kills the abilities as well.
So I'm not a huge fan of this card. So let's go on to the Rolling Dragonstorm, and it's an enchantment for 2 mana. And whenever it enters, then we draw 2 and discard 1. And then whenever a dragon we control enters, return this enchantment to its owner hand. So then we can create the loop constantly, like maybe loot one of the cards that we don't want or get an extra card for 2 mana. It's not too bad, but it's not practical to play. So it's somewhere in the middle. It kind of really depends on your strategy, I would say.
I
So
kind of
it's
like
a pass card.
and I kind of like the fact that you can also like discard a card, so it goes well with the reanimation spells. For example, with Noculus, it's also something that you can actually think about because you can discard a card as well. But
Or the new pirates where you need to discard constantly to grow them,
yeah, there could be this as well, like to
like cycling strategy.
cycling, and you bring it back with a dragon, and then there was like, so you have to remember, like we have to say it, like in Dragonstorm, like there will be a Dragonstorm for each color. So there will, like, this is the blue Dragonstorm, and the main problem here with the Dragonstorm that you need to control a dragon at some point. But yeah, there was something funny that I saw today on Twitter, is that actually we have to remember that there is a blue ley line, and the blue ley line gives all types to all the creatures. So all the creatures will be dragons. So actually you can easily trigger this one if you can use the ley line at some point.
True.
Okay, and then we have the Snowball Stag for the common card, 4 mana for a 2/5 big blocker. Vigilance during your turn. This creature has base power and toughness 5/2, and this creature can be blocked this turn for 7. Of course, it's definitely not a constructed card for sure. It can be a limited card, but even to be honest, like even if it's a good blocker with a 2/5, I don't really see like it very good, like being a 5/2 during your turn, because it dies very easily to a 2/2 or a 2/1. Basically. Then we have the Spectral Denial that is way more interesting in here. We have kind of a new mechanic. There is the mutation. Spectral Denial is X mana and 1 blue. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. And then you can counter target spell unless its controller pays X. What we had before the Repulsive Mutation, and here it's kind of the same, but maybe a little bit more powerful because it's a little bit less restrictive, in the way that if this shelter will be probably the Simic one. You need power 4 or greater to reduce the cost of this spell. But in Simic, it could be quite easy to find creatures with power 4 or greater, to be honest. So I think it's not a bad counter spell overall in Simic. I think it's a Simic card. It doesn't show it this way, but it's a Simic card definitely.
Yeah, because you have more creatures with power 4 or greater in green, so that's why it's being Simic makes a lot of sense. And we go on to the legendary creature that is Human Monk, Tygam, Master Opportunist. It has the new mechanic Flurry. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you copy it, then exile the spell you cast with 4 time counters on it. If it doesn't have Suspend, it gains Suspend.
So Suspend is a cameo, so it means that actually you're going to have a mechanic that comes from some other sets. So here there is not too much of a Suspend, but it's going to be Suspend for this card. I think it's not a bad card at all, because you need to cast 2 spells and to actually recast something 4 turns later, because it's suspended. I think it's a very good card, to be honest.
Well, it's a mythic rare, so it wouldn't be a mythic rare otherwise, I would say. But I really feel a little bit hard to play this card. Although this will be like Flurry is more of a Jeskai mechanic, so as you can see it here. So in Jeskai, we have especially the red color or the blue color that has quite cheap spells. So then I can see us playing 2 spells in each turn. So in that sense, it is very playable, but I don't know what type of an impact it will make on the standard.
That could be very good in prowess, actually, because like the cost, like the spells are very cheap in prowess most of the time.
That's true. There's Timur Devotee. It's a human druid. It's a defender with 3/3 for 2 mana, and it gives us any color as we want from the Timur color. So, which is...
I like it. I like it already. I like this card already.
I think it's a very good card.
2 mana for 3/3 defender. It's always very good, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a good card. And then we go to the next one. It's Uranus Rebuff. It's a sorcery. Then you return the target creature. It's owner's hand, so it could be ours as well. And it has Harmonize for 6 mana, which means you may cast this card from your graveyard for its Harmonize cost. So if you pay 6, then we can. But you may tap a creature you control to reduce the cost by X, where X is the power. So then it could be a lot cheaper than 6 if we were to tap a big creature of ours.
So we will see some other creatures having Harmonize. So this new mechanic is pretty strong, actually. Not maybe this with this one, but with some other Harmonized cards. But yeah, this Harmonize will be very interesting in general in this set. We have here, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted to say, the Winter Night Stories. This is a very strong card. So we have draw 3 cards, and then you discard 2 cards unless you discard a creature card, which is pretty good if you want to reanimate something, for example, as with this sorcery. And the Harmonize is only 5 mana, so basically you're going to have a lot of time, very few cost. Imagine you can play it with the Oculus. Oculus is already like a extremely high creature power, like 5, so you would be able to Harmonize for only 1 blue mana. So yeah, I think this card, the Winter Night Stories, is busted, and I would give it a 9. The only problem with this card compared to what we already have in the standard right now is that we have Stock Up, and Stock Up, it goes a little bit deeper in your deck. Doesn't have the discard ability, but Stock Up is still there, but you cannot replay Stock Up. In here, you can replay the Winter Night Stories.
And that actually goes amazing with the card that we just discussed. That is the Mythic Rare, which is the Tie Gum. So you can literally copy it for another drawing 3 and discarding 2 unless you draw another one. So basically, if you get rid of 2 creatures, then you can draw 5 cards in 1 turn. So
I can see it with Valgaboth, for example, like a Reanimator Valgaboth, something like this. Like you really have the card advantage. You draw 2, you will draw like 3, and you would discard only 1, and the creature that you want to discard anyway. So in the Reanimator, they could see something.
Well, we already talked about this enchantment a little bit above, so that we can go on to the black cards right now. And we start with Abzan Devotee. So it's a dog cleric, and it adds any Abzan color that we want for 1 mana, and for 2, return this card from your graveyard. For 3 mana, return this card from your graveyard to your hand. It's a 2/1 for 2. I mean, it's good for the mana acceleration, but I don't see it being played and constructed at all.
This is not mana acceleration. This is not, because you have to spend 1 to get 1. So it's just the other devotee.
Like changing the color.
Yeah, it's because of the clans again. So this is the other devotee. It's the Abzan one. So basically, you just need it just fix the mana.
Fixing the mana. Yeah.
But it can come back from the graveyard to your hand as well, which is not a bad ability overall. And you have the Caustic Exile in here as an additional costs to cast the spell. You can Behold a Dragon or pay 1, and then target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn. So I think that there will be like zillions of dragons in Tarkir. So there is this new mechanic of beholding. So you behold, and then you show a dragon, you reveal a dragon card from your hand, or you have a dragon that you control on the battlefield, and then it's going to reduce the cost on here. It's like you have to have this additional cost actually. And -3/-3 is not bad for 1 mana, to be honest, or 2 mana even is not too bad. -3/-3. We already had this with Nowhere to Run. It's 2 mana fixed, but this one, if you have a dragon in your hand even, then it's going to be -3/-3.
Well, Nowhere to Run also gives like hexproof, like getting rid of the ward abilities, so that's why it's I think it's very important, that card, considering this mouse has the mage to give hexproof. But this card, like for 1 mana, -3/-3, it's gonna be a doozy. So let's go on to the next one, the Corroding Dragonstorm. It's another enchantment. When it enters, then each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life, and you get to surveil 2. And whenever a dragon you control enters, return this enchantment to your hand. So that reminds me of the Esper Bounce deck and the Hopeless Nightmare all the time. Well, Hopeless Nightmare will make you discard and lose 2. Here you gain 2, which is also a good compensation for the discarding effect.
Well, here you just don't have to discard. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm not sure if it's a very good Dragonstorm, but well, surveilling is not too bad. Maybe I don't really know. To be honest. Cruel Truth, 4 mana, we have another common in here, Surveil 2 for instance, then draw 2 cards and you lose 2 life, so basically like the normal way of like paying life to get some cards. Maybe not too bad in limited, definitely not playable in constructed.
Okay. Then we move on, and then the next card will be the Desperate Measures. So the target creature gets +1 and -1 until the end of turn, and when it dies under your control this turn, you draw 2 cards for 1 mana. I think it's a very interesting card because if you have a card, if you are a creature with toughness 2, and then you can increase the power, and if it still dies and kills the opponent's card, you still get to draw 2 out of it, so you can use it as a removal and drawing 2. That is a crazy card.
Yeah, because most of the time, well, you have to like go, the creature goes back onto the battlefield and so on. But here, I mean, you just like get 2 cards, and you can also like take something from your opponents. Like if you said like there is a 2/2, you get the 3/1, then you can block easily with 4/3. It's a very good combat trick in limited. I think so. Next card is the Krumer Initiate. It's a non-common card, 2 mana for a 2/2, 1 black, and then you can tap it, pay X, and 1 black, pay X life. This creature endures X and activate only as a sorcery. So you put X +1/+1 counter on this creature, or you create an XX White Spirit creature token. Is it bad? I don't think so. Is it good? I don't really think so. I think that limited, what is good about this card is that it allows you to kind of do something with your mana, especially if you overflow with the mana, and you can make a spirit token that creates some creatures. If you gain some life, of course, because like it can be very expensive at some point as well.
Yeah, well, paying X life, it depends what type of shell that you're playing the game with. If it's not a life gain shelf, it could hurt you a lot. But in a life gain strategy, I see this card being played, and I think it's a very good one. But let's go on to a better one, that is Quarcy Revenant. It's a creature vampire with flying, death touch, and lifelink. It's 3 mana with 2 black, and it has renew ability. So you can exile this card from your graveyard and put any of these counters like flying, death touch, or lifelink on a target creature you control, and you activate it only as a sorcery. So renew is more of a was it Abzan? This renew? Sorry. No, the renew is the Sultai mechanic. Okay, so there's a green involved in Sultai, which means that you should be able to get the mana, because 2 black might be punishing, but apart from that, I think it's a very solid card.
It's a very solid card, to be honest. Like this, just the 2 black is a bit complicated, but on the other hand, like you have Brazen's 2 black as well, so we can still do it. And then let's jump onto the Sim6 Ceremony. 3 black then. Creature spells you cast cost 2 less to cast, but whenever a creature you control enters, if you cast it, you have to destroy that creature. Then you create a 2/2 black zombie druid creature token. So there's another zombie thing in here, and you have to destroy your own creatures, which, how to make it good? Probably with sacrifice, definitely, because you can cast like small creatures and make better creatures. Like we have seen the little boss, like the Netbot for example, that you will have like both triggers, because for example, you're going to cast it, it's going to get destroyed, but when it gets destroyed, then you can get the value out of it, because it's going to make another artifact out of it. On the other hand, you also need to raise the pass or do something with reanimation, because if you just kill your own creatures, it's going to be tricky. Yeah, but there might be a line in here with this card.
Well, three. Well, as you said, like a creature like Sage, for example, when it dies, it creates an insect, for example. So you create an insect and also a 2/2 black zombie. So that's what you want because you get rid of one creature, but you get two out of it. But it's 3 black. I find it a bit hard to play.
I think you can also go with the overlords. Actually, some of the overlords they trigger. You sacrifice them, but then you can bring them back from the river. That could happen as well.
And then we go on to the Sidisi, the region of the mire. There's a zombie snake warlock, and when you tap it, sacrifice a creature you control with mana value X other than Sidisi, and you can return something from the graveyard X + 1. You can only activate it as a sorcery, so it's similar to the repurposing bay that we had with the aetherdrift set. So when you stack an artifact that has 2 mana, then you can bring something back with 3 mana. So it's a similar principle, but this time for the creatures. But it's a zombie snake warlock. The zombies would work with Liliana a lot. So you can sacrifice and draw with Liliana, although it might be a long shot, but I think it's a very good card. It's a 1/3 for 2, and I would rate it as 8.
Yeah, it doesn't look too bad actually in sacrifice decks. I would like to see more sacrifice decks. Actually, it's very fun. We have next the Unrooted Ancestor, 3 mana for 3/2, has flash ability, and if you pay 1, sacrifice another creature, this creature gets indestructible until end of turn and you have to tap it. It's not bad, it's extraordinary. I don't think it's extraordinary because you need almost like 4 mana to make it very good when it enters the battlefield, even if it has flash, if you want the indestructibility. So yeah, basically in a sacrifice shell that could work, but I don't really see it extremely good in constructed again. Let's go on to the Venerate Stormslinger. So 4 mana for 3/3 that you mobilize 1, and then whenever this creature or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So this is very interesting as well, because when you mobilize, actually you have to sacrifice the token that you have created. So that goes very well onto a shelter of sacrificing, because what you want to do is most of the time trying to pick a point each time you can with a sacrifice deck. You have to be extremely good at math, and 1 point is 1 point, because picking 1 point like puts your opponent in a bad position most of the time and kills your opponent. So like along with the vampire that we have from Foundations, that thing could work. Maybe would work a little bit better in limited and constructed, but it's not a bad card.
Okay, then we go on to the Yathan Tomb Guard. That is a human warrior for 3 mana 2/3. It has menace, so whenever a creature you control with a counter on it deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card and you lose 1 card.
1 life.
But who will have the counter on them? So you're gonna have to have some sort of a Mardu strategy where you get like +1/+1 counters, and then that should deal the combat damage so you can draw a card. But
well, it can be also like a flying counter. It can be like, for example, like we have the one from Duskmorn that puts +1, like any counter, flying, lifelink. It can be any kind of other counters. Well, it can go also like with the renew strategy with the other card that puts plus your counters from the graveyard onto another creature. That could work. I don't think it's extraordinary, but that could work, yeah.
And then the last one in black is the Strategic Betrayal. It's a sorcery. Target opponent exile a creature they control and their graveyard. So it's 2 mana. And it's not too bad. Exile a creature they control and their graveyard. So that gets rid of a lot of graveyard strategy out of the window for 2 mana. I think it's pretty decent card. It could be played. And we go on to my favorite color of all times, that is red. And the first card will be Devoted Duelist, and it has haste, and it has flurry as well. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, this creature deals 1 damage to an opponent. It's 2 mana for 2/1 goblin. Well, goblin, we have this goblin strategy with the aetherdrift, and with the foundation as well. So that's why I would say this could work, and this will be played, but overall I don't think it's a very good card. Okay, but let's not continue with the red, and let's give like 5 minutes breather before we continue with the red color, and then we're gonna finish with green and multicolors later on. So we will see you guys in 5.
Okay, so well, we're back for more Dragonstorm right now, and yeah, well, if you have any questions and so on, don't hesitate to post it in the comments as well. We're going to be happy to answer any question, translation, whatever it is, or to interact about this card because we'd like to make some combos with it. So a card that we talked about in Magic Weekly is Dracogenesis, 8 mana for you may cast dragon spells without paying their mana cost enchantment. So basically, this is very expensive. Let's say this way, 8 mana is super expensive, but you can make it like a reanimation. And imagine if you had any kind of cards like is super big dragons, like for example the Terror of the Peaks.
Terror of the Peaks.
There is Latina as well. Like there are so many dragons that you could actually make it trigger. So yeah, that looks like a funny card, to be honest.
I find it super expensive, like even with Abuelo and stuff like that. Like, well, Abuelo is very strong because like one card, which is omniscience, then can take over the game. Like this card is cannot really take over the game by itself. It's gonna need more supporting actors into the mix. So in that sense, 8 mana. Well, I can't really picture people putting like one or two in their deck just to spice it up and use it. But although the dragons so far has been Gruul, and Gruul is like very good at like mana fixing and mana acceleration. So if you're playing in this Gruul shelf, like you can easily get to 8 mana and then you can play it. But it's a good supporting card, but I wouldn't rank it as like mythic rare in my opinion. I don't see many people playing this one. So let's go on to the Equilibrium Adept, and it has 4 mana and it's a dog monk. And when this creature enters, exile the top card of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play that card, but you still have to pay for the mana cost. And it has flurry, so it gains double strike if you cast a second spell. And it's a 2/4, so the toughness, I really liked it. Although 2 power is not too good, but gaining double strike with flurry, and so it's a solid card. I would rank it like 6. I would say
Yeah, it's a good
easy
6,
6.
especially in limited, because it also allows you to exile the top card of your library, and you can play it until the end of your next turn, not this turn only, which is pretty good. So Jeskai Devotee, we have the Jeskai wand, so now we have an Orc Monk this time. Whenever you cast your second spell, each turn this creature gets +1/+1. This stats are good. 2 mana for a 2/2. It's a common card. You replace 1 mana for any color that is in your Jeskai pile. This is a good card. This is a very good card. It's probably one of the best devotees that we have seen so far, because you have the ability to make it grow, and on the other hand, it has good stats. It's 2/2 for 2 mana, which is pretty normal. It's not a 2/1 and so on. So yeah.
It could be easily 3/3. So yeah, I think it's a very good card. And we have the Magmatic Hellkite for 4 mana, 2 red, and it's a creature dragon, and it has flying, of course. And when it enters, then destroy target non-basic land an opponent controls, and its controller searches their library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap with a stand counter on it, and shuffles. It's 4/5, so I really like the toughness of 5, to be honest, and also like getting rid of a land that in the meta where we have a lot of creature lands is very good in my opinion.
Yeah, we haven't played any destroy land control, but that could also be an idea. So far, I'm not a huge fan, but I've never played it as well. So, but there are a few cards in the standard right now that can also kill some lands. So maybe we should give it a try with this new dragon, and it's a Shieldred flying. So it's pretty good. Also, like it has a stat of 4/5 as Shieldred. And then we can jump onto Sarkhan, the Dragon Ascendant that we have seen already in the previews. 2 mana for a 2/2, and Sarkhan enters. You may behold a dragon. So we talked about this new mechanic already. And if you do, you can create a treasure token. So you accelerate the mana, Sarkhan, and whenever a dragon you control enters, you put a +1/+1 counter on Sarkhan. Until end of turn, that Sarkhan becomes a dragon. It's like kind of a mimic again, and also gains flying. Well, I don't see it like being super strong, but it's pretty good because like holding a dragon with Sarkhan it will be pretty much easy. Like beholding, sorry, a dragon will be pretty much easy, I guess, in the format. Accelerating by 1 treasure token can be extremely significant because it will do something in the format. I'm thinking about Inti, sometimes Inti doing pretty much nothing when it comes into the battlefield because you have to attack with a 1/1 blah blah. Sarkhan has the ability to do that actually.
And it will constantly grow if it's a dragon deck. So even like a small dragon will put a +1/+1, and it's not until the end of turn. So it stays on Sarkhan and gains flying every turn. So I see this being played a lot, and it's a very good creature. And let's go on to the Seize Opportunity. It's an instant for 3 mana, and you have 2 options. You either exile the top 2 card of your library and you play them until the end of your next turn, or up to 2 target creatures. Each gets +2 and +1 until the end of turn. So that could be a good finisher, or maybe the combat trick. And if you didn't get the cards you want, you can also use it to dig a little bit more into your library. But 3 mana, I find a bit expensive for what it was. So it will be played in limited, but I don't see it being played in constructed as much. And so I will give it like 5 maybe.
Yeah, it's playable in limited definitely. And we jump onto the Shock Brigade for 2 mana. We have a 1/3 and has Menace and Mobilize 1. Nothing extraordinary with this command, but has good stats. And you have Mace, and it's a Goblin Soldier, which is what we are fearing these days in the meta, that goblins might be making a comeback. So that's a Goblin. So you have to remember that, and it has menace as well. So maybe it's a common, but maybe you can do some stuff. So you have to remember as well that we are not extremely good in aggro decks. So I don't really know how to talk too much more about this because I've never experienced the goblin deck anyway. So
yeah, but goblins are everywhere for sure. And then, well, the dragons will be everywhere with Tarkir. And the next one is Stormscale Cian. It's Cyan for 6 mana for double red, and it flyings. All of the other dragons you control gets +1/+1. This itself is 4/4, but it pumps all the other ones, and it has storms. So whenever you cast a spell, copy it for each spell cast before this turn. Copies become tokens. So
yeah, this is crazy. Well, this card, it has to be seen in the meta, but we talked about it in Magic Weekly when it first came out, and as there is a Mox Opal, it's not Mox Opal, I won't say Mox Opal, but it's Mox Jasper. So with the Mox Jasper, that could make something. But yeah, the Storm ability is also the cameo, and this cameo is definitely the kind of destructive. I'm saying it's a cameo, but Ral has already the Storm as well ability when you ultimate him. But with a dragon in here right now, it can be way more destructive. I don't know, maybe Ral can also be very good. We were wondering if we can make this Friday work out, but Ral also asks a lot of instant sorcery spells to be cast, so that could be a good shelter for her. And then we have the Summit Intimidator. For mana for 4/3, has Reach, which is not too bad. In limited, when this creature enters, target creature can't block this turn. That's it. Nothing else to say about it. Just definitely limited card, maybe, but not definitely a constructed card. We have the Struct Master, 2 mana. Says the Struct Master, 2 mana for 3/1. Add mana of any of 1 red if you tap it, which is pretty intriguing for red, to be honest, to accelerate your mana. And for 3, if you sacrifice this creature, it deals 6 damage to target creature with flying. I think that's not a bad card, to be honest. Accelerating the mana and being able to kill something that has flying, especially that we know that red doesn't have many ways to kill big fires, it's definitely a very good card.
Yeah, well, usually like dealing 6 damage is like 4 or 5 mana in the other sets, so you can do that for 3 mana. For this one, it's pretty impressive in my opinion. It's a good card. It's definitely a pass. And then we go on to the next one. It's the Underfoot Underdogs. It's a Goblin Warrior for 3 mana. It's itself is 1/2, but whenever it enters, it also enters with another Goblin creature. So I find it very expensive, but as we said, like the Goblin made a return with aetherdrift and Foundations, and now we have new toys with the Tarkir set. So in a shell with full of goblins, it might make a difference because, like for
Yeah.
example, what was this card? 4 mana, like creating a goblin token.
The heavy.
No, not the heavy. Is the well, I will
Krenko.
Cranko. With Cranko, like it
What
grants
is
2
good
more.
here is that you don't you also give unblockable to a creature that is power 2 or less. That is also a kind of a hazard thing, to be honest. Like so, yeah, that could work. And we go jump onto the war effort 4 mana for gentleman creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever you attack, create a 1/1 red rare creature token that's tapped and attacking. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. It's not too bad. You don't create really a 1/1. You create a 2/1 actually. Is it extremely good? Maybe in the limited format 4 mana for the standard right now it's very expensive. I don't see it anywhere nearby any mono red right now. It's too expensive for mono red. And we have the last card from red, Channel Dragonfire. Channel Dragonfire deals 2 damage to any target and you harmonize for 7. Probably like 2 basically. It's not too bad. I don't think it's going to be extremely good as well.
No, I didn't really like this card, and well, usually I don't really like red cards. Anyway, so then we jump on to the green, and we have a Taunt Hunter. This is a human ranger with trample for 3 mana, 3/3, and whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard during your turn, put a +1/+1 creep, put a +1/+1 counter on this one. So I think it's a very good card with trample. Just 3 mana, 3/3 is already good.
Yeah.
And it will be good in limited. It will be good in constructed. So it's a pass.
Yeah, with the behemoth as well, with the Ketchamos as well, that could be good. I saw the behemoth just before. Bottom line, Regent. So we have here the Omen and then Social Library for up to 2 basic forest cards, so it has to be forest only. You reveal them, you put 1 tapped onto the battlefield, so you activate your mana and you get 1 into your hand. So it's a cultivate, but just for forest basically. And then you shuffle it back because this is an Omen. And then you have the Regent or the powerful 5 flying. Whenever this creature or another dragon you control, you gain 3 life. It's not a bad card, I think. But it's not super extraordinary. So let's jump into the Crater Hoof Behemoth 8 mana. That is haste, enters creatures you control against trample and against +X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. This card is insane. I have that in not standard but in other formats very fastly to the Crater Hoof Behemoth because I was not expecting trample and +X for 6 million creatures on the battlefield, but this is it. The Behemoth is definitely back in Dragonstorm.
Yeah, this is unbelievably a bomb. It will pump everything else, and it's great. And giving everything trample, like, well, that's what you expect from your mythic rare, just to take over the game. And Behemoth will do that for you. And we go on to Dragon Brood's Relic. It's an artifact. You tap an untap creature you control, and you add 1 mana of any color. So then you can use like small creatures to generate some mana, so which is great. And if you sacrifice it for 8 using 3 and 5 different colors, then you can create a 4/4 dragon creature token that has all colors. It has flying, lifelink, and when this token enters, it deals 3 damage to any target. So this is,
I think it's a very good card.
I think it's a very good card.
Especially with the wagon right now that we have. We have the Overlords as well for green. And then we also have this ability that if you play 1/1 and you just need to tap an untap creature, you have an extra mana actually of any color. So I think this card is pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah, for 2 mana, it's great. And we have the Dustsuit Earth Carver, and it's an Elephant Druid for 6 mana. It has 4/4 with reach, and whenever it enters, it endures. So you can also put +3/+3 counter on it, or create a spirit token. That means it's actually can be 7/7 for 6 mana with reach. So this is not too bad for a common card. I see this one being played in limited format a lot.
We have Heritage Reclamation for 2 mana. You can choose one target, you destroy target artifact or enchantment, and you can or exile up to 1 target card from your graveyard and you draw a card. It's good. It's not too bad. It's good. It's not very playable in all the formats, but I mean, it's some of the artifacts and enchantment might be a bit problematic. Mostly enchantments because there's not too many artifacts in Dragonstorm.
Well, I kind of like it because it's usually you don't really have exiling effect in green.
Yeah.
So then it gives this into the green lovers. So that's why I kind of like that card. But maybe this one is better. The right of renewal. Return up to two target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. The target player shuffles up to 4 target cards from their graveyard into their library. So probably like we get 2 cards back, and then we can also shuffle up to 4 target cards from graveyard into our library. So I mean, it's 4 mana, but being able to play many things that is unfortunately sitting in our graveyard makes a lot of sense to me. So I give it an easy 6.
Okay, so we have then the Roamer's Routine, 3 mana. You can look for a basic land card and then put it on the battlefield tap, then you shuffle, and also have the Harmonize 5. It's not a bad card actually. If you want to fix the mana in limited, it's not a very good card. In constructed, definitely. The Harmonize makes you fix your mana as well, but constructed is out of the question probably because you need well, we have the wagon, we have the overlords, but for the limited, it's something that you can actually consider, to be honest.
Okay, we are going on to the Sagu Wildling. It's a 5 mana dragon with 3/3 flying. When this creature enters, we gain life. It also has Omen for 1 green, and you search your library for a basic land card and reveal it and put it to your hand, then shuffle. I don't think it's a good card at all. I found it a bit trash in my opinion.
It could be good in limited, not good in constructed, but fixing your mana in limited is something somehow problematic, so that could be something that you can consider. And then we have Sakan's Resolve, 2 mana for choose 1 creature you control, get +3/+3, target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn, or destroy target creature with flying. It's flexible. I kind of like it because the problem with green creatures most of the time in green color is the flying part. So basically what I like is the pump spell, or like the ability to kill something that is flying, which is not too bad. So yeah, I think it's a very good one. We had then the last Devoted, the Sultai Devoted for 2 mana has Death Touch 2/1, and you can get like one of the color of the Sultai clan. It's a good card. Like the Death Touch is very good. 2 mana for a 2/1 is very good as well. So the Jeskai one was extremely good, and this one is extremely good as well because of the Death Touch. So you can hold actually your opponent's big creatures, and you can also like fix your mana with your clan if you really need it.
Yeah, it's a good card with Death Touch. Death Touch is always good in green. We have Surak, the Elusive Hunter, for 3 mana, 4/3. This spell cannot be countered, and it has Trample. And whenever a creature you control or creature spell you control becomes a target of the spell or ability, you draw a card. So this is a bomb. I would say it's a very good card with Trample and being able to draw whenever we are a target of anything. And yeah.
We have a 3 mana for a 4/3 that is uncounterable, plus a trample as well. It's crazy. We have the Undergrowth Leopard, just next Vigilance, 2 mana for a 2/2, extremely good stats to be honest, 2 mana to Vigilance, and if you sacrifice this creature, you destroy target artifacts or enchantment. I think that this card can be good at the same time, inconstructed and limited. The Vigilance is extremely good for a 2 mana for a 2/2, because for this price normally you would have a 2 mana for a 2/1 maybe, but not a 2/2. So the stats are good. And it also allows you to kill some enchantments that are pretty annoying, like to Murloc down. Okay, it's going to disappear at some point, but there are some other artifacts or enchantments like the Overlords. You can destroy some Overlords for 1 mana, for example. I believe that this card is pretty good.
Yeah. And then the last one in green is the Encroaching Dragonstorm. It's a 4 mana enchantment. When it enters, then you go up to 2 basic land cards and put it on the battlefield tap. And whenever a dragon enters, you retrieve that card back to your hand and you can replay it. But I mean, 4 mana for green is not too expensive, because you can accelerate it. Again, like we had this enchantment we talked about for 8 mana. So if you really want to put that one on the battlefield, we're going to need some side cards like this one. That will not be my favorite. I don't think I would play this card too many times, but it's not a bad card for acceleration. This is like similar to the battle, the invasion of Zendikar, for example, and that has the similar ability of putting 2 cards. And this one, you can also get it back with even like a small dragon creature, so it's not too bad. But we are moving on to the multicolor cards, which you guys will be waiting for, because this Tarkir set has 5 different clans, so we will be talking more about the multicolors than the others. So let's go.
Here we have the first one, the All-Out Assault, that has been revealed a few days ago. So for 5 mana, Mardu colors, your creatures you control get +1/+1 and have Death Touch. So it's lethal for anyone that is touching them, and when this enchantment enters, if it's your main phase, there is an additional combat phase after this phase, followed by an additional main phase. When you next attack this turn, and tap each creature you control. So basically what I like about this card is like it's doing everything what Mardu does, actually, each color does. If you can add kind of a little bit of a indestructible behind it, that can be good, actually, like
Or
we
if
have
you-
seen.
Or if you play FOMO with it, then you get like, I don't know, 7 combat turns.
Wow, we have seen this card that gives actually indestructible to all of your creatures. You sacrifice 1 creature and you put a +1/+1 counter on each of them. So it means that actually you're going to have additional combat phase each time. While the main part is you need to untap them. That will be probably the main problem. But yeah, with the FOMO, that could be something as well.
Yeah, this is a bomb. All-Out Assault is a bomb. Like, if you see that card, get out of there immediately. So we have the Auroral Procession, and it's Simic, and it's an instant to return target card from our graveyard to our hand. So, I mean, this is not too bad, considering like we might be going on like a milling strategy, and we use the Jays for -5 and we return the Jays for 2 mana. Kind of like the card.
And it's not returning a permanent, it's returning target card. So it can be anything.
Yeah, it can be anything.
Which is pretty strong, actually, compared to what we usually have in Simic. Awaken the Undead, so we also have some sagas in the format. So destroy target non-permanent is very easy. For the Soul color, you mill 3 cards for the second chapter, and you may discard a card. When you do, you return target creature or land card from your graveyard to your hand. It does everything that all the colors do, but the main problem is that I don't really understand which chapter you're going to need this card. The milling at the same time with destroying, and it's a bit confusing. I've read this saga a couple of times, and I didn't really understand where you want to go to with this one, to be honest.
Okay, let's on to the next one. It's the Baron's Deep Siege. It's 4 mana, 2 and white and black. So as this enchantment enters, you can choose the Abzan or the Mardu clans, and then it has different options according to your selection. So if you select Abzan, Then at the beginning of your end step, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. And if you choose Mardu, then at the end of end step, if creatures die under your control this turn, each opponent sacrifices a creature of their choice. So this is an interesting enchantment, and I think we will see these a lot. And it's nice to have this type of flexibility where you decide which type of strategy that you want to go towards. And well, I will be playing more Abzan than Mardu.
Choose your clan, right?
Yeah, but it's
I
a
hope
very
you're not going
fun.
to regret. You hope you're not going to regret it after.
Yeah,
actually.
that's true.
You're always like, so yeah. This is this new mechanic from enchantments. So the siege, you have to choose your clan. Choose your clan, and then when you choose it, then you're going to be able to do something about it. And then here we have better hints, like the dragon from the Abzan clan. So each clan has a dragon dedicated to him. To them. So here we have flying at the beginning of your end step. If creatures you control have total toughness 10 or greater, draw a card. That's pretty good. Then if your creatures have 10 toughness or greater, then untap each other creature you control, and then if you reach 40, each opponent loses half their life and round it up. So if it's a bomb in Abzan, I think this is a bomb, definitely. Especially that you have green, so most of the time, like the stats of green creatures are pretty high. You can have easily 4 or 5 for each of your creatures. So yeah, better is better.
And well, you can even have the Ecclesots on the battlefield, and then you kill it in one spot. Well, it's too much. Ecclesots is a bit expensive because of the 3 black mana, so I don't really see it in the Abzan shelf. But Beator is a bomb. It's definitely a very good card. And we go on to the next one. It's the Bone Chair Butcher. It's another Mardu card with 4 mana, and you have 1 mana and the other Mardu colors, and it has Mobilize 2, so it will create 2 tap and attacking creatures that you need to sacrifice them. But what is great about it is those tokens will have a Death Touch going on to the attack, so it will be harder for the defense to block them, so you get the damage done. And it's a 4 mana 4/4 demon. I think it's a very great card. I love this card.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like this Mardu card, like giving like this death that you are a little mobilizing like soldiers. It's pretty good, I guess. And then we go up to the Disruptive Stormbird. So it's an omen card as well. So you will have this time a dragon that has destroy target creature with power 3 or less power, only at sorcery speed, and 5 mana for a 3/3 flying. When this creature enters, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment. I think it's one of the best omens that we have seen so far, to be honest. You can destroy like a creature and can destroy also like an artifact or an enchantment. Okay, the stats for flying 3/3 is pretty high, but you also get to destroy an enchantment or an artifact at the same time. It's not bad for an uncommon.
So we go on to the Dragonback Assault. It's 6 mana. It's a Temur color. So 3 and all the 3 Temur colors that you need to play. When this enchantment enters, it deals 3 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. So it's already a sweeper. And on top of that, whenever a land we control enters, then it creates 4/4 red dragon creature with flying. I mean, it's a bomb. I think it would have been a lot better if it was a little bit cheaper. Then it would have been unstoppable card. So I would still give like 7, but it's still a very good creature. Enchantment, sorry.
I think it's a 6, to be honest. Like the problem is that 6 mana for dealing 3 damage is not enough, definitely. Like you have Brotherhood and Brotherhood End right now that is way more powerful. Like as long as it's going to stay in standard for 3 mana, even if you have the landfall strategy in here, but being able to spend 6 mana on an enchantment that kill for 3, it's not enough. Like Deadly Cover Up is probably way better, for example. Unfortunately,
Deadly Cover Up will kill everything as well.
Exactly. Then we go up onto HK Dragonclaw. It's a Temur human warrior which is trample and ward 1 at the beginning of combat on your turn. If you've cast both the creature spell and a non-creature spell, this when you draw a card and you put 2+1/+1 counters on this creature. 4 mana for 4/4 is a very good stat. The ward is extremely good. The villainess is making like crazy. And Well, the good part is you can play this card on turn 4, and because of the ward 1, then you can still have it on turn 5 actually. So it means that actually you can really get onto the having cast a creature spell and a non-creature spell during your turn. Then you can go for the attack by this creature.
Yeah, I think it's a very good creature. I think it's 8 easily. And then the next one will be the Fangs Keeper Familiar. So it's a Sultai combination. It's 4 mana with 3 Sultai colors in 1. It has flash. It's 3/3, but whenever it enters, we either get 3 life and survival 3. We either destroy an enchantment or we counter a target creature spell. So you use it as a counter spell and you still have a 3/3 body. I think it's very good for 4 mana because it does 2 things. And yeah, I kind of really like this card, to be honest. I also love the art.
I kind of think about like Airtime. It's Airtime Resurrected in here, right?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, like especially for the counter spell and so on. So it does exactly what the Sultai colors does. But it's it's pretty good. So next card we have a Frostcliff Siege, another siege in here, and when you have to choose your clan, so it's going to be Jeskai or Timur this time, and if you choose Jeskai, whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage, you draw a card, and if you're a Timur, creature you control get +1/+0 and half trample and haste during if this enchantment is on the battlefield. Pretty strong siege, especially for the haste part, to be honest. Probably the main problem of the meta right now is that domain being very predominant. Then if you don't have haste with your creatures, then you die, definitely, because you're too slow because of summoning sickness most of the time to ping some point to domain. I like the fact that there is again a flexibility, like against who you're going to play. If you're going to play very control, like you can play only Jeskai for a while and then turn it into a Timur if you need a second one. And 3 mana is not too much to spend for this kind of enchantment.
Okay, the next up is the Glacier Wood Siege. So it's 3 mana with 1 and Simic colors. And whenever it enters, you have to choose either Timur or Sultai. So you have to decide on the red or black color. The red color, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, target player mills 4 card. And then the Sultai is like you may play land from your graveyard. So I like the Timur version of it, although Timur is not really known for milling. But I think it should have been the other way around, in my opinion. But like they did,
because Timur has the Simic colors. That's why.
Well, the Sultai has the Simic color as well.
Yeah, but I mean, like this is probably why they also put the mill into the Timur colors.
But I mean, like this card is known for black, so like milling and discarding, so it will work much more.
I think Sultai was more onto the graveyard thing on the clans. That's
Yeah,
why
that's
they
true.
put the graveyard back, like thing back.
It's an okay enchantment. I don't see it being.
I think the siege is better than the Jeskai one. And we're going to go into the common color, so you also have the model part of the expanses right now, so you can play 2 black, 2 green, 2 blue onto the Night Watch actually to make it work, but 6 mana is allowed for 3/3. When this creature enters, look at the top 3 cards of your library, and you may put one of those cards back on top of your library, put the rest onto the graveyard. I think this card is extremely bad, but I don't know, you tell me. But yeah, this card is 6 mana for 3 to put a card on top of the library. I don't know what it does, to be honest.
There is the next one is the Inevitable Defeat. So it is a Mardu for 4 mana with 3 Mardu colors. This spell cannot be countered, and you exile target non-land permanent. Its controller loses 3 life, and you gain 3 life. So we had this similar thing in before for 3 mana, and like you would exile it, but you would not gain life. So, and this cannot be countered. So I think it's a very good instant, although it's a bit expensive. And I will look for the other card as you go on to the next one.
Okay, we have here Kishla Schemer, which is a like Simic creature 2/2 flying. I think this card is pretty amazing because whenever a card leaves your graveyard during your turn, you draw a card, and this ability triggers only once each turn, of course. But then the thing is that the schemer can have some triggers because of the renew of the Sultai clan, for example. So basically, you will exile some blue cards from your graveyard and get something on top, and then at the same time you can draw a card. So yeah, basically, I think this is a very good flyer. Like flying for 2/2 is already very good in terms of stats, but then having the ability to draw cards is it's even better. And then we go to Cottis the Fankeeper. So we have legendary creatures, Zombie Warrior for 4 mana. It's like the Sultai one, indestructible. It's crazy. Deals combat damage. When it deals combat damage to a player, exile stock X card of their library, where X is the amount of damage dealt. You may cast any number of spells with mana value X or less from among them without paying the mana cost. The problem with this card is that it has only indestructible, so it means that it's very easy blocked. So basically what you really need to have it is probably like the Death Touch, or make it grow definitely.
Well, this inevitable defeat like reminded me of the Void Rend from the new Capenna set. So that was the card that I was looking for. Well, it was not exiling, but it was destroying any non-land
But Void Rend was Esper, right?
It was Esper. But yeah, that kind of reminded me of that one. Although here, like you get to gain life and the opponent loses 3 life. So this is something similar, but maybe better in that sense. So we have the Lion Wait as a sorcery for Sultai, and return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Lion Wait deals damage equal to that card's power to target creature. So you return something and you kill something at the same time for 3 mana. So I think it's a good sorcery. Like if it was instant, it would have been crazy card. But even as a sorcery, I think it's a very good card. And the next one will be the Marshal of the Lost. It's 4 mana. It's Orzhov as it is right now. It's 2 and Orzhov color. It has Death Touch with 3/3. Whenever you attack, target creature gets +X+X, where X is the number of attacking creatures. So, and with Death Touch going crazy and being pumped with the number of creatures, and if you use it in the shelf where you also create like these small tokens to go and attack, so this Marshal can be very problematic card.
Yeah, I think this card is very good because like it's 4 mana for 3/3. It's an uncommon, and you have already like the pump spell. It has the touch as well, and it doesn't. This card doesn't have to attack. Actually, it's whenever you attack. So that's pretty strong in limited, I guess. Here we jump on to Narset. Like Narset, we love Narset. Everybody loves Narset. And we have the Jeskai Waymaster. At the beginning of your end step, you may discard your hand, and if you do, draw 2 cards equal to the number of spells you've cast this turn. I don't know how you can just like make it so good, but yeah, this card can be kind of a good shelter in Jeskai, definitely for 3/4 as well.
Okay, we go on to the Nerif, the Heart of the Storm. So it has Mardu, 4 mana with 1 and Mardu colors. Then it has flying, 4/5, and if a creature you control that entered this turn will deal damage, it deals twice that much damage instead. So people who love to use the burn spell and like go into phases will kind of like that card. But even by itself, I think it's a bomb. It's a 4/5 for flying, for 4 mana. I think it's a very good card.
Yeah, it's just about like if a creature you control that entered this turn would deal damage. How do you make it like trigger? Like it's already 4 mana, so it means it's like even like a 1/1, you need 5 mana, or like a 2, it's gonna be 2 more mana. It's pretty complicated, I guess, to make it trigger, to be honest. On new card as well, like new forwards, like Jeskai colors, instance the next time a source of your choice would deal damage to you, this turn prevent that damage. When damage is prevented this way, new wave forward deals that much damage to that source controller, and you draw that penny card. So it's redirecting actually the damage going to your face, especially our favorite Lightning Strike, for example. So yeah, basically you just want to redirect those ones. Is it really worth it? I'm not sure. Like 5 mana to redirect like a lightning strike. Well, you draw 3 cards. Okay, that makes the deal, but I think the spell is way too expensive.
Okay, so we have the Prenation at 6 mana with Abzan colors. It's a sorcery mythic rare, and you return target permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a hexproof counter and indestructible counter on it. So, I mean, this is crazy. But on the other hand, the 6 mana is also quite expensive for what it is. But if you bring like something like Volgavoth or Truxa for 6 mana and giving indestructible and hexproof, well,
Yeah, it just dies to maybe Deadly Cover, and yeah, no, I mean not even Deadly Cover, Sunfall.
it will die to Sunfall. If it's the only creature, it will die to Liliana.
It would be Sunfall or a Sacrifice, so Shoulder's Edict and things like this. But this card is crazy, though, the Pernation. I mean, you kind of force your opponent to have something like Sunfall and or to have sacrificing strategies. So yeah, if you put it on Vagabond and Attraction, I don't think that this card will be extremely good in Standard, because Standard is way too fast to play this card, I guess. But like in Commander, for example, that can be a very powerful card. Then we jump onto the next dragon, the Purging Stormbird, 5 mana for full for flying. And we have the Omen in here as an instant speed for 2 mana, 1 white. Target creature gets +2/+2 and gets lifelink and hexproof until end of turn. A good way to protect your own creature. Then you have also like the flying power, won't pay 2 life. But when this creature enters, remove all counters from up to 1 target creature. I would love to play this card against the Archfiend, to be honest. But yeah, maybe that's just a dream.
And we go to Roxaha Bargain. I don't know how to pronounce it, to be honest. It's a weird name, Rashaha, I guess. Well, what is good about this one is the flexibility of the manas. So you can choose to play either 2 or a black. 2 mana of any color or a green. So you can play it as Sultai color for 3 mana, but if you don't have these colors, you can play it for 6. So that is kind of interesting, which we haven't seen it before. That is giving like flexibility in terms of mana. And what you do, like you look at the top 4 card of your library and you put them 2 in your hand and then the rest in the graveyard. So again, like if you have some sort of reanimation strategy, then you can use this one and put the cards that you want to reanimate in the graveyard and get the other instant and sorceries you want. I kind of like this instant, to be honest. I think it will be playable and we will see it everywhere.
So we have another Jeskai. We love Jeskai. I love Jeskai. We're discovered the wave 3 mana for this saga. Right now, we look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the rest in the bottom on the bottom of your library in any order. So for the 2 first chapters, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this turn target creature you control gains double strike until end of turn. It is very good. Don't know. I think it's playable in limited in standard, like doing like casting 3 mana like of all colors, and then you also need to do nothing almost. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know, to be honest. Like this card looks very strong to me, but in which way can you really make it trigger? I'm not sure about it.
Okay, then the reigning victor, it will be the next card. It's the Orc Warrior for 3 mana or 6, and it's 3/3 with mobilize 1. And whenever it enters, then you create a treasure token that you need to creature token that you need to sacrifice at the end. But when it enters, it gives something +1/+0, and that creature gains indestructible until the end of turn. For a common card, I think it's pretty okay to me. Well, from common perspective, I think I will give it like a 7 to this creature.
Yeah, but when it enters, you also do something. Yeah, it says mobilize. Then we have this Runescale Stormbird, 4 mana for a 2/4 flying. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell or dragon spell, this dragon gets +2/+0 until end of turns, which is okay, let's say. But we also have the Omen itself, counter target spell with mana value 2 or less. It's something that you can really hold on to, for example, like counter another counter spell, for example, or counter something that's going to kill one of the creatures until you're going to shuffle it back into your graveyard, into your library. Then we have the Severance Priest, like Absent Colors, Death Touch, 3 mana for a 3/3, good stat overall. When this creature enters, target opponent reveals their hand, and you may choose a non-land card from it. A non-land card. It's not. It's a non-land card, and if you do, you can exile this card. And when this creature leaves the battlefield, the exile card owners create an XX white spirit creature token, where X is the mana value of the exile card. It makes me feel like, or it makes me think about the Skyclave operation, actually, where you were like exiling something from the battlefield, and then like the opponent would get a spirit back onto the battlefield with the Skyclave operation. So it's kind of Skyclave operation in here, but in Absent Color.
Okay, then we go on to Shiko, the Paragon of the Way. So it's another Jeskai Spirit Dragon. It's 5 mana with 2 and Jeskai colors. It has Flying Vigilance 4/5, and whenever it enters, exile target non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard, copy it, then you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. So I think it's a very good one. Flying Vigilance and like also copying a spell from your graveyard, I think this is a bomb.
That is very good.
I would say this is very good card.
And we have here the Skirmish Rhino. So everybody talks about the Absent Rhino. The previous one was 4 mana, and like opponent loses 3 life, you gain 3 life. And here it's a little bit like a variation of this Rhino, because you will have the trample in here, but when the creature enters, the opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So that's extremely good. 3/4 trample with Absent Colors. It's definitely a very, very good creature as well.
And we have the Stalwart Successor. So it's a 3 mana with Golgari color, like 1 and Golgari color. It has Menace for 3/2. Whenever 1 or more counters are put on a creature you control, if it's the first time the counter has been put on that creature this turn, put a +1/+1 on this one. So, you can keep on growing the other creatures, and then you subsequently like grow the successor as well. So in that sense, I think it's a very good uncommon. Although it's 3/2, maybe 2 toughness is not too bad, too good, but it might grow with like 4/3, 5/4. So I see this card being played for sure. And the next one will be the Temur Battle Crier. So you have the Temur color, of course, and it's an Orc Ranger with 4/3. During your turn, spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. So I can see this one being played a lot because it's super strong.
It's super strong. When spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature you control with power 4 or greater, and this one is already 4. So my question is, what if you have 2 of them? So that's a huge cost, because it's not a legendary card actually. This is pretty amazing in here. And we have now the Self-Tide Dragon, the Teva, Arbiter of Virtue, Flying and Lifelink. And spells you cast have Delve. So Delve, you probably know it for the other Tarkir sets. And then this is a cameo again. So each card you can exile from your graveyard while casting those spells, pay for 1. So it's basically whenever you cast a spell, you lose life equal to its mana value, but it's 6/6 for 5 mana Flying Lifelink. It's a pretty small cost for what it does actually. So yeah, it's a pretty good dragon, and I can see like some strategies like filling up your graveyard to try to get this dragon back.
Yeah. The other one is Urani, the Song Unending. It is 8 mana, the Temur colors with 5. It's flying, protection from white, from black, and whenever it enters, it deals X damage divided as you choose among number of target creatures or planeswalkers your opponent controls, where X is the number of land you control. are you kidding me? Like this card does everything. It has protection, it flies, it's 10/10 for 8 mana. I mean, 8 mana is expensive, but it does everything else. So if you're not calling this a bomb, what would you call it?
Yeah, especially if you reanimate it, so it would be way cheaper than 8 mana actually. Whirling Stonebird. So 5 mana for a full 3 flash is pretty good, the flash part. Flying, you may cast sorcery spells and dragon spells as though they had flash as well. And you can put 3+1/+1 counters on target creature you control for sorcery speed if you use the Omen. I think it's a pretty good adventure card as well, because of the flash flying, and the stats are way better than some of the creatures that we have seen in the Omen parts, actually. And we jump onto Mardu card, Zergo the Thunder's Decree. You can mobilize for 2. It's a legendary creature, Orc Warrior, and during your end step, warrior tokens you control have this token cannot be sacrificed. So yeah, if you just go Mardu crazy, then Mardu crazy would be like you can mobilize, but you will mobilize forever and have an army of 1/1 tokens.
And the last but not least is the Teamer Battle Crier. So you have the Teamer color for 3 mana, and during your turn, the spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. So was it?
I thought that was the other one as well, but it's the other.
Other card. I was like,
Yeah.
well, I know this card from somewhere.
Sounds like
So
cosmetic.
it's basically the same card with the different cosmetic. So then that means we end this turn as well. But then last but not least, we have a crazy Planeswalker. So, well, although it was announced that there will be only one Planeswalker for each set, but after that, we start seeing 2 Planeswalkers instead of 1. And this time it's the same. Along with Elspeth, we have Eugen, Eye of the Storms, or Ugin, as they call it. It's a 7 mana. Whenever you cast a spell, exile up to 1 target permanent. That's 1 or more colors. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, exile up to 1 target permanent. That is 1 or more colors. You do +2 to gain 3 life and draw a card. You do 0 to add 3 in color mana, and you can do -11 to search your library for any number of colorless non-land cards, exile them, then shuffle. Until the end of turn, you may cast those cards without paying their mana cost. So all of the Eugens have been extremely powerful, so this one has no exception to it.
Yeah.
And this will be incredible, but especially with the colorless maybe artifact type of strategy that will play Eugen more.
Yeah, I want to make an artifact colorless control deck.
Yeah, that will be an incredible addition. So I'm really looking forward to play this card sometime soon.
Especially trying to play it with the Ezra Spark as well. So kind of a challenge with the Ezra Spark and Eugene as well. Like 2 planeswalkers that are like very different planeswalkers. I don't know. You can break this card at some point, I guess. And then here we have a few artifacts, not too many artifacts compared to what aetherdrift brought. With the Absent Monument, we have like a few monuments in here. With this artifact, aetherdrift search your library for basic Planeswamp Forest, which is basically like the Absent colors. You reveal it, you put it in your hand, then you shuffle, which is a good way actually in limited to fix your own hand and your own color. And it has also like a spicy thing. When you just pay 4, you can tarp it and sacrifice the artifact, and then you create a XX white spirit great token, where X is the greatest toughness among creatures you control.
That is kind of crazy for 2 mana, for 5 mana, 4 mana. So this Abzal Monument is going to be played for sure. Boulder's Born Dragon, it's 5 mana. It's an artifact creature dragon with 3/3. It has flying and vigilance, and whenever this attacks, you surveil 1. So I would find it very expensive and don't think I will play this card, to be honest.
We have a Undermouth Sentinel as well for 2 mana, 2/1. When this creature enters, you may search your library for a basic link card, reveal it, then shuffle and put that card on top. And if you control a dragon, put that card onto the battlefield tapped instead. This card is very good if you control a dragon. But so far we didn't find a dragon for 1 mana so far,
Yeah,
which is pretty weird because like you have to play this card on turn 2 most of the time. You want to do that, but probably then you fix your mana on turn 3 or on turn 4, which is already weird because you have already fixed it most of the time. But I don't think this is a very bad common, and to be honest, because it also allows you, if you play like around dragon strategy, to put those lands onto the battlefield instead of your hand.
The next
as a
one,
review
we have the
topic.
Jade Cast Sentinel. It's an ape snake. It has reach, and it's 1/5 for 4 mana. And by paying 2 mana, by tapping it, you can put the target card from your graveyard onto the bottom of its owner's library. So, I mean, this is not too bad as a blocker. I would definitely play it in the limited format for sure. It's a 1/5. It's a good blocker. It does not die easily, and it has reach. Considering we have so many dragons, it's not extraordinary in constructed, but for sure in limited.
So we have here 2 more monuments. One for Jeskai, one for Mardu. So you're going to pick of course, like the land from your clan actually. And the Jeskai one does the sacrifice artifact for 4 others color of Jeskai, and you tap it, create 2/1/1 white bird creature token with flying. I don't think that is extremely powerful, to be honest. I think that the Mardu and the other one, the Absalom, was a bit stronger. When you sacrifice it for 5, then this time you're going to create 3/1/1 red warrior token, and then the game menace and haste until end of turn. So Jeskai looks a little bit weaker than the other ones.
And then we have the Mardu Monument. It has 2, and it's an artifact, and it searches your library for basic plains, mountain, and swamp. And for 5 mana, by tapping it, then you can create 3/1/1 red warrior creature tokens. They gain menace and haste until the end of turn, and activate only as a sorcery. So, like, if you want to go wide, then it's a good way of doing it, but 5 mana is a bit expensive, so I don't really see this being
I
played.
just talked about it right now, so
Sorry?
yeah, I was putting the Mardu and Jeskai at the same time.
Oh, sorry. Then we jump on to the Mox Jesper. It's a legendary artifact for 0. For 0 mana, we didn't have anything, so we're gonna have this one, and it adds 1 mana of any color, and you can only activate it if you control a dragon, and this will not be a problem in a Tarkir set. So, and let's go on to the Sultai Monument. So it has the same ability, so it's 2 mana. It enters, and you can search for your Sultai colors. And for 5 mana, with tapping it, then you sacrifice this artifact and create 2 black zombie druid tokens, and you can only do it as a sorcery speed.
Okay, so yeah, we have seen all the monuments but Timur. So the Timur is going to be the last one for your colors, of course, of your clan. And then this time, instead, you're going to sacrifice this monument, and then you're going to create a 5/5 green elephant creature token, like a very big, massive elephant creature for it. So basically, these monuments are a good way to fix them in limited, not being too much playable in constructed, to be honest. And we have the last artifact, the Watcher of the Wayside, 3 mana for 3/2. When this creature enters, target player mills 2 cards, and you gain 2 life. And then it's just like a regular artifact, nothing extraordinary about this. Then we can jump onto the lands now, because we have new lands, of course, but you have to remember that we need actually those double lands to fix the clans, because you will have on draft the possibility to fix your mana, especially in limited. Of course, we have like new lands for constructed as well, and we find back all of these double lands that give you 1 life. They enter tap, but they gave you 2 mana, different mana. And we have also like these extra new lands, for example, like the Curl Mountain Monastery, where it enters tapped unless you control the colors, the opposite colors of your clan. Like in here, it's going to be a plain or an island that is the Jeskai color, so it's a Jeskai lands actually. most of the time. And for 4, you can exile and tap it, exile the top card of your library until the end of your turn. Next turn, you may play that card. I think it's kind of a good land, especially for red, because like most of the time, red is a bit stuck with drawing cards or exiling cards to be able to get or add some value. So I think this monastery, even if it's for 4, it's not a bad card.
And we have the next one is the Dalkovan encampment. So this one will be for the Abzan clan. So it's a white, but like it's not tapped unless you control a swamp and mountain. And for 3 mana, whenever you attack this turn, you can create 2 1/1 red warrior creatures token are tapped and attacking, and sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. So you can add additional creatures attacking to your opponent through this card. So it's not too bad.
So we have also like the return of the Evolving Wilds. So you have to think about like drafting it at some point if you are going onto limited format, because at some point like the Evolving Wilds will probably make a difference in your game, especially if you're mana screwed. That you have probably said it and watched it zillions of times in our videos, because like even like yesterday we were mana screwed at some point, unfortunately. And then these kind of things kind of fix your mana, and it's very important, especially if you don't play any green, because like all the other colors like Esper and so on, and especially the clans, are not fixing the mana very easily. Though in this format we can find, as you can see, the triumphs, like kind of the triumphs, they answer tap, okay, but they can give you 3 kind of mana, and then we have 1 for each clan, which is pretty amazing, because this is what we needed not only in the limited format, but we needed that also in the standard format. And then right now, even if you get it on turn 1, you have 3 colors on turn 1 and not 2 colors only. So that can make a difference. Is it as good as the triumphs that we had before because you could cycle it? I'm not that sure, but at least it can fix a little part of it.
But they were also like getting onto the battlefield tapped. And what was not good about them, that there was a rare lance, so nobody, like not everybody had them. So these being like uncommon is gonna give more reach to people who doesn't have too many wild cards. So in that sense, I kind of like to congratulate the Visit of doing that. So the lance shouldn't be too expensive. And well, although I'm aware the lands, you use them all the time and it's very good and it's the most vital part of the game, but sometimes like rares or mythic rares for lands may not be something people wanted to be crafting for. So the next one will be the Great Russian City. So this is a land that I kind of like the most among them, because it is exiling a creature card from your graveyard to create a 1/1 White Spirit token. This could go really well with Kaya. That's what I thought with the Spirit tokens. So, and then it's again the Abzan colors. You need to have the other Abzan colors, so that this land doesn't go tapped on the battlefield.
Yeah, I think it's one of the weakest one of these new lands. We have like another Jungle Hollows. I mean, we know the card already. We have the Kishla Village as well. So this is the other one for the islands, so it's going to be the Sultai normally clan. And then for mana you Sevel 2, it's okay card. We have here the Maelstrom of the Spirit Dragon, 1 mana of any color, and you can spend this mana only to cast a dragon spell or an omen spell. Yeah, I think it's a good land for this one, especially if you want to play dragons. You can sacrifice this land and you can search your library for a dragon card as well. So there is a lot of flexibility in this card, actually, compared to some other lands that we have. And we have probably the most powerful land in here is the village, the Mistress Village. That is a land, but then it's going to be the Timur one. But for 1 blue mana, the next spell you're going to cast this turn cannot be countered, which is pretty powerful, I guess, because there's a lot of format that you want control not to be able to kind of counter your spell, actually, because you're looking for something maybe indestructible or trying to bounce something, but if it's already countered, then nothing's going to happen. And then here you can just like counter anything. It's not like a instant sorcery, it can be also like a creature. It's the next spell you cast, so it can be actually a creature as well.
This is great for sure. And we have these clan lands that you see, three of them, like the Mystic Monastery, the Nomad Outpost, and the Opulent Palace. So that gives like the colors, the three colors, and these are like uncommon lands that everybody will be crafting them to be able to play any three colors deck. The Highlands we already know, so we can skip those one as well. And going back over here, then we have the Citadel over here that also gives the Abzan color for anybody. And it is again like being uncommon for these lands are like what I like the most about them, to be honest. And the Baron, the Cliff, and the Falls, we already know about these. Well, this will be very useful in the limited format because like this deck is all about, this set is all about like three different colors or two different colors, so you're going to need these, but these cards that we already know.
And yeah, I think here we are, like talking about and edging with this amazing lands that we can see. Like the art, as usual, is breathtaking, to be honest. So it's going to put an end to what we had as that we call like the forum of demigods right now. So we talked and reviewed all the cards that have been revealed so far. So basically, well, this is what we have in our hands right now. I think we're very excited to go onto this next draft because aetherdrift is okay. I mean, there's a part of fun in aetherdrift, but I don't think that it's going to be my favorite set of all time, to be honest. Dragonstorm, I don't know if it's going to be one of my best one as well, but I kind of feel like it's way more the spirit of what Magic is. But it's also good that Wizards do some different things. It's good to have like this aetherdrift, like this race that is not a race in the multiverse, and then to have also like something going back to the inner core of what I have known from Magic for years, like being a fantasy world, and it's full of dragons, full of soldiers and knights, and like these kind of artifacts, enchantments, and so on. So I'm pretty excited so far. Like the limited format looks very interesting. To be honest, we didn't see any sweeper so far, which makes also like the limited format a little bit more interesting. We don't have like something like a pileup that is going to kill everything that you have on the board. I kind of like the mechanics. I kind of like the clans. I think that probably what is missing right now in Magic is the possibility to play three colors without just like being killed on turn 2, on turn 3 to get punished for playing three colors. And yeah, we can see domain taking a huge part of the meta, but out of domain there are also like other clans, and for example like Jeskai has totally disappeared, Sultai has totally disappeared, and that's sad. And aetherdrift didn't change anything, aetherdrift didn't shape anything at all. So well, let's hope that Dragonstorm is going to change something in this meta that we probably have seen and played a little bit too much. But yeah, whatever, don't hesitate to also like comment on this, what we've been through right now, what you kind of predict for the next format, if you're expecting or like waiting for the set to arrive very soon because you want to have more dragons in the format. And yeah, well, thank you for listening to us, and well, and to don't hesitate to ask some questions, and to of course like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, well, that was the first live forum that we did on our side. So if we did any mistake, like if there was any like technical issues that you should warn us about, then please do in the comments below. So we'll try to fix it for the next time, and we will try to make it more often with you guys being and participating and like joining us to talk about the future of the Magic. And the future for now is going to be the Tarkir that will come in 2 weeks. And we wanted to go over the cards that we know, and there will be more to come because it's only the half of the series, half of the set. And we will see you guys also with the limited and constructed gameplays in the future. So until the next time, have a good day.
See you guys.